All right, so we're diving deep today into the EB-2 National Interest Waiver, or NIW for short. Clearly, you're interested in this unique route to a green card, and I get it, especially how it lets skilled professionals like yourself bypass the usual job offer requirement.
It is fascinating, isn't it? It really flips the script on the whole idea of an employment-based green card.
Exactly.
Instead of needing an employer to sponsor you, you're basically saying, hey, you as government, my work is so valuable to the nation. You should waive the usual rules for me.
It's like the government is saying, you're so brilliant, we want you here. Don't worry about who's hiring.
Well, it's not quite that simple.
Yeah, I figure.
The guide makes it clear that you have to prove substantial national importance. It's a pretty high bar to clear.
But that high standard is kind of what makes it so appealing.
Absolutely. It attracts a specific type of professional.
Someone who's not afraid of a challenge.
More than that, we're talking about entrepreneurs, researchers, even artists, people whose work might not fit neatly into the usual employer-sponsored boxes.
So it's not just for, like, Silicon Valley tech geniuses then?
Not at all. While the NIWIS popular with STEM folks, the guide is very clear that it can apply to a surprisingly wide range of fields.
So educators, healthcare pros, artists, and even more.
Exactly. Think about an educator who's revolutionizing teaching methods, or healthcare workers tackling those huge rural health disparities.
Or maybe an artist preserving some crucial part of our cultural heritage.
Exactly. The key is showing how your work is going to significantly benefit the United States. That's the core of it.
Makes sense. But how do you actually convince USCIS you're worthy of this special treatment?
Right, getting into the nuts and bolts now.
The guide keeps mentioning this intimidating-sounding three-pronged test.
Yeah, that's the heart of it. The USCIS uses this thing called the matter of Dhansar Framework.
Oh, here we go with the legal jargon.
It's not that bad, really. Basically, it's got these three prongs. Think of them as tests, each building on the last. And it really paint a complete picture of what you bring to the table.
Okay, break it down for me. What's the first test I got to pass?
So prong one is all about substantial merit and national importance. You're not just good at what you do, you're exceptional. And more importantly, your work has to have real impact, aligning with what the US is trying to achieve as a nation.
So, like solving big picture issues.
Exactly. Think public health, climate change, boosting the economy, things where the US really needs to see progress.
Got it. And I remember the guide used the example of a researcher working to reduce healthcare disparities in rural communities.
Perfect example. Imagine them presenting data that shows their research led to, say, lower mortality rates in those underserved areas, or made telehealth services way more accessible.
Okay, so they're hitting both points there.
Yeah.
It's high impact work, and it lines up with those federal goals to make healthcare better for everyone.
You're not just saying, I'm doing good work. You're saying, my work directly helps America achieve its goals.
Okay, so that's prong one down.
On to prong two.
This is where a lot of people stumble.
Uh-oh, what's the catch?
It's called well-positioned to advance the proposed endeavor.
Sounds pretty straightforward.
Well, it's where you prove you're not all talk, right? You have the actual skills, the experience, the track record to turn your big idea into reality.
So I can't just say I'm going to cure cancer. I have to have something to back it up.
You've got it. Think past achievements, maybe publications, endorsements from bigwigs in your field, stuff that makes your claims believable.
I think the example in the guide was a software engineer who developed AI projects that made supply chains more efficient.
Strong example, because it's not just about coding skills, right? They could point to projects that optimize delivery routes, reduced waste stuff that has a real impact on businesses.
Maybe they even have letters from companies saying, hey, this person's AI helped us deliver life-saving medical supplies way faster. Something like that.
Perfect. It paints this picture of someone who can actually deliver on their promises, not just talk a big game.
Okay, so it's not enough to have a great idea. You got to be the person who can make it happen.
Exactly. And then we get to the final hurdle. Prong three, the national interest waiver itself.
This feels a bit meta, like arguing about why you should be allowed to skip the line.
Kinda, yeah. You're saying it's in America's best interest to waive those usual job offer requirements, specifically for you, because your work is that important.
Like any delay would actually hurt the U.S.
The example to give is, say, a STEM whiz on the verge of some huge breakthrough in cancer
Makes
treatment.
sense. Forcing them through the usual process could delay those life-saving discoveries.
Right. It's about making a strategic case